who doesn't just speak about businesses. He redefines how leaders think about growth, scale, and execution. Across continents and across boardrooms, across industries, he has consistently challenged one thing: can your idea survive reality? Vusi Thembekwayo is a globally acclaimed entrepreneur, venture capitalist, author, and one of Africa's most influential business thinkers. Widely known for transforming how leaders approach growth and execution, he's the founder and CEO of My Growth Fund Venture Partners, where he supports high-growth African businesses with capital, strategy, and scale frameworks. He's also the founder of the School of Scale, equipping entrepreneurs with the discipline required to build sustainable enterprises beyond ideas. Vusi has advised governments, multinational corporations, and founders across continents, consistently challenging them to move beyond inspiration into structure, systems, and measurable results. He represents execution at its highest level, where ideas are tested, stretched, and proven through scale. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for clarity, structure, and truth. Please put your hands together and give a warm platform welcome to Vusi Thembekwayo.
Come. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. You're too kind. Whew, what a day. Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, Charlie. We are here. Biko Abego. We are here. Oh. Hello, family. All right, let's get started. I'd like everybody to take a seat, if you don't mind. I have 5 ideas that I flew 11 hours and prepared 50 slides to come and share with you. And I have to do all of that in exactly the next 30 minutes. So with your permission, I know I'm good, you know I'm good, we all know we're good. We're going to get right to the meat of what we're sharing today. Is that fair? Excellent. I need my clicker, Emmanuel, to get my slides to move. There's no clicker here. There's microphones, which I'm happy to speak into. But it'd be great for me to get the clickers. So before we get started, can I just say, this morning my experience in traffic was much better. Much better than last time. I'm not sure if it's something the government has done or if it's because they removed the fuel levy. But whatever it is, it's Workers' Day, indeed. Secondly, can we acknowledge my brother, Pastor Portia, for putting this together? Come on. Yeah. He's a gentleman and a scholar. He really is. I love the stuff that his media team has been doing, by the way, online. It looks absolutely great. And I know he's not here, so I know you're going to tell him for us. Let's give him another round of applause. Excellent. The third thing I wanted to say before we get started, and please, chaps at the back, you're not allowed to run my time yet, because I'm still waiting for my clicker. So as soon as my clicker comes, then you can time me down. I'm already timing myself. Thank you so much, ma'am. Can we give her a round of applause? Great work. The third thing I wanted to say is this. You should have the privilege of being offended in life. Offense is good. Because offense means one of 2 things. 1, that you care enough about whatever is being said, or 2, that what you have believed has been so wrong that you're being challenged. So I gave myself one very simple mandate coming here for my 3rd platform: to offend you. That's all I came here to do. And I hope that in our time together, you're going to be offended. Chaps, if you can put up my slides, please, that'll be great. Let's get started. So I hope that in our time together, I'm going to share with you some ideas, share with you some principles, share with you some thinking that should offend you. You should have the privilege of being offended. Offense is fantastic. So on screen, typically what they do, my team forces me to do this, like, introduce yourself. I'm like, people know who I am. I know who I am. But I have, by God's grace, the privilege of being the founder, no longer the CEO, but I'm the founder and chairman of our School of Scale. This is our accelerator program that we first started when we were actually forming our venture capital firm circa 2016. We celebrate 10 years this year in our VC firm, My Growth Fund. Thank you. To God be the glory, truly. But we started first as My Growth Fund Accelerate because we were helping entrepreneurs that we had invested in. Because here was the problem I realized, Pastor Porter. The problem was this. We were taking this money and investing it in these businesses. And for our first fund, we couldn't get institutional backing. And so I was lucky that I'd exited a business. So I took my own money and I thought, well, if they won't give me the money, I'll put my own money down and I will prove the thesis. And here's what I found. I found that there was a correlation, not necessarily a causation, but there was a correlation between entrepreneurs, their race, background, and their propensity for success. That if they were young, black, female, and from a poor background or from a village, they were most likely to fail. And then I realized that all of the white male entrepreneurs that we were helping, investing in, who were scaling businesses, weren't celestial beings. Nowhere in the Bible did it say that on the 8th day God invented them. They were just like you and me. So the question I wanted to understand was this: what is it they knew that we didn't that allowed them to succeed? First, I was offended, then I spurred into action. And over the past 10 years, we have refined our work, refined our thesis. We have tested it so well that today the School of Scale is in South Africa, we're in Ghana, we're in Kenya, we're in Zambia. We just opened an office in Jamaica because we've signed a massive deal in the Caribbean islands, and our head offices is in Delaware. So I can speak about the work we do with some semblance of certainty. We know what works. I'm going to share with you a little bit of that today. I also have this podcast called Ideas That Matter. Here we are, there we are. Last year, we won Apple's, we're on the top 4 globally under the Apple category for business podcasts, the only African podcast to feature in that series. And here's why that's important for me, and I'll make the point very quickly. If you look at the world and you look at popular culture, you realize that Africans are overrepresented. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about what I mean in a moment. But just look at our conventional history. You look at music, Africans. You look at theater, Africans. You look at Hollywood, Bollywood, Nollywood, Africans. You find us everywhere. The only place you find the Africa story absent is business. You look at our politics, Africans. Liberation movements, Africans. But the minute you talk business, commerce, P&L, balance sheets, suddenly the African voices are few and far between. And yet here is the problem. Every single one of our ambitions is not possible unless we control resources. And secondly, we come from the world's most resource-rich part of the world. How can we have the resources but be poor? Something is broken here, comrades. Anyway, I also chair Watermark Africa Fund. That's our private equity firm, now year 6, based out of the DIFC in Dubai. And most recently, I've been raising a fund called 154. I'm very proud of the name, by the way. 154, one continent, 54 countries. It's a Pan-African fund that targets family businesses, and effectively what we're doing with our thesis is we're looking for family businesses that are in generational transition. There is something fascinating happening in the world at the moment, and it's even more acute here in Africa. Generational business owners, family businesses, the person who founded that business is no longer old enough to run the business, but typically what's happening is their children don't want to run their business. They've all become chartered accountants and lawyers. They've gone on to work in other parts of the world, and yet they've built these businesses that are the bedrock of many of their economies. And so we're just about to hit first close in that business, and I'm very, very excited. And then apart from that, I write some books. Nothing major to mention there. Sold over 1 million copies. You know. God is good. God is good. All right, let's get started. Just to make sure that we're all on the same page and to prove to you that I'm not an AI, and knowing how long you've all been sat down, I'm going to play a little game with you. I'm going to give you some emojis. The emojis are going to be a brand, and if you know the brand, just shout it out. Here is the first one. What brand is this? Emmanuel, can I get my coffee? What brand is this? No, it's not Vusi Thembekwayo. Think about what this symbolizes. Netflix. Come on, use your third brain. Here's this. What about this one? What brand is this? Thanks, Manny. BlackBerry. It's trailing. Oh, I see. You guys are trailing. I see. Are we all on the same page, guys? This screen and that screen are showing different things, eh? Red Bull. All right. Now here's what it is that I want to speak to you about today. If you have a pen and paper, I want you to write down these two words. These are the two words that I'm going to speak to you about today. Put it back on screen, guys. Don't take it off, please. Very important. I need it back on screen consistently. I see. You're having a problem with the run? We go back. There we go. These are the two words, guys. Founder's mindset. Founder's mindset. This is what I came to talk to you about today. My thesis, which I hope offends you, is that not every single business owner is a founder. Not every single entrepreneur is a founder. Not every single leader is a founder. There are a set of things that make founders different. The most important of these things is that founders know that there will come a time when the thing they have founded has outgrown them. In fact, they build it intentionally so that the thing they have founded outgrows them. And so my challenge for us here today is going to be sharing with you what is in the mindset of what it takes to be founders and how founders build and scale their businesses. Manny, can I get like a tissue or something to wipe while I'm up here? That'll be great. Thank you so much. The greatest poet of the 20th century, a man whose contribution to poetry outpaces William Shakespeare and T.S. Eliot, a man whose contribution to poetry outpaces many of our best poets, including Rumi, by the way, is the man who, in my opinion, is the greatest poet of the 20th century. His name is Jay-Z. That was a joke. But Jay-Z says, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. I'm a numbers guy. I live in the world of numbers. I spent most of last night running a Monte Carlo simulation on our recent capital raise. So I'm going to share with you some numbers here today. Now, for any of you who ever find yourself raising capital, I'm going to give you a little tip here. Don't forget, there's one of two things you need to do when you show numbers. First, if it's on a graph, it must be true. So always present your data on a graph. Secondly, if it's a statistic, always share it within 2 decimal places, because 69.98% just sounds a lot more certain than 70%. I'm giving you tips here. Write this down, right? They're not paying attention, you know. Right. Some work done by PitchBook, and they're a publication that talks about the world of capital markets, venture capital, small businesses. They did some work to look at the number of deals that have been done where companies that were founder-led were bought. This is the actual graph of what that looks like. It starts in the year I was born, the year of our Lord, 1985, and goes up until May 1924. I'm going to break it down for you. Don't worry about it. Just let me help you understand it quite quickly. This is the number of actual mergers and acquisition transactions done every single year for all of these years. Said differently, there is more money looking to back founders' businesses than there are founders building businesses. So if you're not attracting the capital isn't the problem. You are. And a lot of what that you are has something to do sometimes with the business you're starting, often with the timing you're raising money, but more important than not, with the geography of where you're actually based. I'll show you what I mean in a moment. So again, I'm a numbers guy. I broke these numbers up into the trend lines, and I looked first at the first quartile period, and then I looked finally at the last quartile period. And what do you notice? Between 1985 and circa 2000, by the year 2000, there were 40,000 deals. 40,000 deals where money was buying businesses led by founders. There was only 12 months in a year. So that's about 3,800 businesses being bought every month. There's only 4 weeks in a month. That's about 1,000 businesses a week. There's only 5 working days a week. That's 200 businesses every single day, somebody transacting and buying a business that somebody has built. And by the way, none of these people are angels. They are just human beings. They're just like you and me, and they just figured out a way. And that number had grown. By the time we got to the year 2020, it was around 60,000. These numbers are, and it's going to increase. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, so I'll share it with you very, very quickly. There is a statistic that says, over the past 5 years, the United States has printed, listen to this, the United States over the past 5 years has printed 50% of US dollar currency that it has printed since the existence of the United States. The comrades are not following me. The United States was founded, you could argue the time, but it was founded circa 1776 at the Gettysburg Address. Abraham Lincoln, 7 years ago, our forefathers set foot on this continent and brought forth a new nation. That was 1776. And between 1776 and 5 years ago, all of the money that they printed, for all of the problems that they printed, all of the USD that ever went into the global economic system, not only physical money, but digital money that goes into your computers as well, until 5 years ago, they have now printed half of that over the last 5 years. There is more money today than there are good ideas and good founders, and I am absolutely certain of it. The question is, how do we unlock it? And that's what it is that I came here to share. Well, first we need to start with where we are. Let's look at your own economy here. What are you guys, $340 billion economy, give or take? It depends on what's happening with the Naira. I can't laugh, but I laugh. So think about four key markets that you could build in, right? So first yours, second your neighbor, who, by the way, I was there a week ago. They said I should tell you that they have better jollof than you do. Not my words, Charlie. But they're a $115, $120 billion economy, give or take. And then, of course, Kenya, where I was transiting through 3 days ago. We have a business in Kenya. They're a $140 billion economy. And then, of course, the greatest country in the continent of Africa, my home, South Africa. Now, the largest economy in Africa. I need to tell you, we are once again the giants of Africa. I just want to remind you that there are two countries in Africa. It's South Africa and everybody else. Don't worry, that's the rich man's laugh. When you're rich, you laugh like that. That's See, when you're poor, you laugh like you're fighting. No, I don't. I'm not fighting anybody. These markets alone present a $1 trillion economic opportunity. So, more money being printed in the world than has ever been the case, more money making rounds than has ever been the case, and that money must be invested somewhere. It's looking for founders to build businesses. Then we are in an environment that presents, at the very least, a $1 trillion economic opportunity. But what you must understand is that legacies are not hoped for, they're built. So the question is, how do you build a legacy? The first thing you must do is you must understand your context. The context in which you're operating, ladies and gentlemen, is everything. Context in which you're operating. I'm going to quickly share with you the context of Africa. First, sub-Saharan Africa, which we are in, presents the largest economic growth opportunity of any other region in the world. Of any other region in the world. And that, by the way, includes the United States. It includes advanced economies. We present a 4.6% economic growth opportunity on aggregate, just in this region of ours that we call sub-Saharan Africa. Second, we are the world's engine for growth. Why? Because we have the world's youngest population. We have the world's youngest population. For what it's worth, Europe is old and getting older. Why do you think they are so keen to take young Africans who are qualified? You think they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart? These visas they make available for us suddenly when we qualify as engineers and software engineers and doctors and lawyers, they're doing it because that's what drives economic growth. They need us there. I can assure you, need us far more than we need them. Europe is old and getting older. The Americas are kind of stagnant. Asia is slightly younger. Set aside Japan, which has a number of structural problems. But if you look at the Africa story, just look at those numbers, guys. Over 50% of the population of Africa is under the age of 50. In your country, Nigeria, over 50% of the population here is under the age of 18. Do you know what that means? That means there are over 100 million people who are not yet economically active. So if I was building a business, where would I build it? In Luxembourg or Liechtenstein, where the population is less than 10 million? Or would I build it in a place where the population of people who are not yet economically active is over 100 million alone? The problem with us is we don't know how to execute on this opportunity. The data's there, how do you execute on it? Second point I want to make, standards of living are improving. Most of us here, I imagine, didn't grow up in urban areas, but you live in one now, because we're all urbanizing, we're all moving to the urban centers. Our standards of living are improving, our connectivity is improving. Suddenly we have the internet, we can download things, and internet speeds are getting faster. I see you guys let that South African guy called Elon Musk come and launch Starlink here. You should have listened to South Africa. Because I want to believe that he's done something like triple the prices over the past few months that he's been here. Good luck. Good luck. You're going, hey, you don't know what you've done to yourselves. Us as South Africans, we shall watch you suffer well. Third, where will this engine for growth come from? So I'm going to give you two comparative analyses. The first I'm going to do is show you the world's largest companies 10 years ago and circa now. And then I'm going to ask you, what does this look like in Africa? These are the world's largest companies in 2011. And what do you notice? Of the top 10 largest companies in 2011, only three are technology firms. The other 7 are not technology firms. Now fast forward 10 years. And suddenly 10 years later, only 2 are not technology firms. This was 2021. This is pre the IPO of SpaceX, which is about to take place. It'll be the largest IPO in the history of IPOs. Until recently, that record has been held by Saudi Aramco. A lot of people don't know what the Aramco in Saudi Aramco stands for. It's the Arab American company, because it was the Americans that helped the Saudi Arabians actually create much of what is today their oil industry. Their relationship goes back many, many decades. This is the world. Fast moving and moving into the technology space. Now look at us. Come to Africa. These are Africa's largest companies. Of course, dominated by South Africa. Of course, dominated by South Africa. Just sharing with you that you guys don't feature there. No, I joke. But what do you notice? About 3 of those are technology businesses. Much of them are actually agricultural and mining businesses, because the truth is, Africa is still an economy of holes. That's what Africans are really good at. We're very good at holes. We're good at digging them and pulling things out of them, mining, or digging them and planting things into them, agriculture. It isn't to say we shouldn't use the technology advantage, but it is to say we need to play for the game we have been gifted. So I came to ask a question: who here is going to build the business for the future? So that was the first point I want to make. Second point I want to make. Capital follows scale. Capital follows scale. Tosin was talking earlier about his journey at Money Point. And what did you notice when he first opened his presentation? He shared with you guys the macro data of how big their business is. He wasn't sharing that with you to impress you. He was sharing it with you to let you know capital follows scale. He's been able to attract the capital he's been able to attract because he's been able to build a business that's scaled as fast as his business has scaled. I should say it's something that I'm constantly moaning about to my own peers in South Africa about. The rate at which yourselves here have been able to scale technology businesses is just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. But capital follows scale. And if capital does follow scale, then what are the 4 things you need to scale? This is what the data tells us. The first reason most entrepreneurs in Africa don't scale is because they don't know how to synthesize their operations. And Tosin was talking about it. He spoke about standard operating processes and procedures. He spoke about running a rules-based environment rather than a people-based environment. In our environment, we call it synthesizing the operation so that even if you are not at work, work continues. The second is most African entrepreneurs don't know how to implement growth drivers. Every single business has 3 things that if you did, the business grows. Everything else is traffic. And so what most African entrepreneurs do is you're managing noise. The role of a leader is to remove the noise and focus on the signal. So let me ask you here today, those of you running a business, what are the 3 things that if you did today, your turnover would double? Do those things. Everything else is noise. And if you don't know what those 3 things are, your homework when you leave here is go and find out what are the 3 things I should be doing. Third, build based on insights. This is probably the one I feel most passionately about. When you first start a business, you succeed because of instinct. But to scale a business, you'll succeed because of insight. You start a business because you feel it in your stomach. You can get a sense that something's going to move. Someone says to you, this is what we need. And so you start trying something, testing something, going to market with something, and you go, wow, this actually works. That's instinct. But what you've got to figure out are what are the tools and technologies I need to put in place to move from instinct to insight. Instinct is what I feel. Insight is what I know. And so too many of us are still 10 years or 5 years into a business, and you're still running it by how I feel. And then the last. When you're managing people, if you do not have the ability to align incentives, you will fail. Your people must have incentives that are directly aligned with the business objectives you want to drive. Tossing's called it structure. It's exactly the same idea. I'll prove it to you. This deck that I'm sharing with you, this is my 4th keynote this week. Next week, I've got 6 keynotes in 3 continents, in 6 different countries. No, don't clap. Let me make the point I want to make. I didn't see this keynote until last night. I didn't see it. I didn't need to see it. I have a team of people around me whose incentives are aligned with mine. In fact, my brother, when I was supposed to be on the meeting with you on the call, the briefing meeting, because this is how my process works. When a client invites me to come and speak, we jump on a call, we get a briefing. The first time, I think you were busy and had something going. The second time, I was flying somewhere, so I couldn't jump on the call with Pastor Podru. But I had 4 people in my team who jumped on my call. My head of operations, my head of protocol, my head of marketing, and my executive assistant. All of them jumped on the call. They listened, the call was recorded, it went to an AI system that we run that told us of all of the ideas and things I speak about. What are the 3 simple ideas I could speak about to synthesize it? Then it went to my design team, which is headed by a young lady who sits in South Africa, but is aided by other people who sit in India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. They designed the whole presentation, sent it, my quality control went through the whole process, headed by my marketing team. 2 nights ago, she sent it to me. Last night when I landed, I checked it. Synthesized operations. Now, everything I'm sharing with you is not rocket science. It's just put the system in place, so that regardless of where you're expected to deliver, the outcomes are as near as makes no difference the same. But you have to align incentives. So what does aligning incentives look like? Well, I'll share it with you. When I leave here, the good people here at Covenant Nation will get an email from my team. That email has a link. It'll direct them to a scoring sheet where they get to score me and how I've performed. And in that scoring sheet, they score my performance. Be nice. They'll score my keynote, but they will also score my presentation, my ideas, and the design. So when we come together at the end of a quarter and we're dispersing quarterly bonuses, it's not just based on who performed well based on their own feelings, but actually based on what clients have said. That way, my team has to do the right job because they get paid to do the right job. Simply aligning incentives. So you're running a business, a retail business, and while you're here, you've got somebody in your shops helping customers. How do you know that they're helping customers? We have a young man in our business who runs a business called Monbieu Afrique. He's a young Zimbabwean man, a young man from Zimbabwe who grew up in Zim, then moved to South Africa, started this business called Monbieu Afrique, and they sell apparel, but they also sell oud. They sell those very deep, rich kind of perfumes that come from the Arabias. 2 years ago, I said to him, the market here is too small, you need to move. He moved. He now has a store in Beverly Hills in Los Angeles. But I know anytime I walk past any of Chase's store, I know that if any of his salespeople see me, the first thing they're going to say is, "Sir, I have a smell from Cape Town. Would you like to smell it?" That's a sales script he's developed for the people in his team. Then when you walk into a store, they have a rule. No customer is allowed to take 4 steps into the store without somebody having a point of contact with them. Have you been assisted? Have you been helped? What would you like? Is there something I can assist you with? Come and sample this. No holds. That is a rule that is developed. Why? Because he's worked out a system to align incentives. So he's got a shop in South Africa. He's got several in South Africa. He's in the US. He's in the Middle East. But he's only one man. How did he do it? Aligning incentives. Aligning incentives. Don't worry, I'll share with you exactly how to do this in a minute. Exactly how to do this in a minute. Let's all take a deep breath. This is a lot. I know. I came with fire. Holy Ghost fire. I told you there's levels to this thing. Entrepreneurship is not just entrepreneurship. I'm going to go through this quickly, but I want you to make a note of it. The first level of being an entrepreneur is where you are something we call a professional. You have a specialized skill, you do the work, you execute the work. Here, you are the lawyer, you're the accountant, you're the engineer, you are the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. If you're not there doing the job doesn't take place. Despise not the day of small beginnings. All of us start here. Every single one of us. I can assure you that all of the entrepreneurs you've heard from today started at this point. The problem is, the issue is they knew not to stop here. The second level is where you become. If you can't take 90 days away from your business and your business still runs, you are not an entrepreneur. You are self-employed. True story. I said that at a conference in the US, and this lady at the back said, "Bullshit!" And she threw something at me. I'm not joking. Because it's an offensive idea. It's an offensive idea. How many of us here have been running a business for 5 years, but you can take 3 months and your business runs? It's an offensive idea. It really just is. And by the way, some businesses you can't do that with. And that's okay too. What is a self-employed person? A self-employed person has 2 or 3 trusted people around them to whom they give parts of the work that are non-value adding. So if you've ever been to a dentist practice or you've been to a lawyer's practice, there is somebody at reception, there is somebody handling accounting. The doctor or the dentist doesn't handle the reception, they don't handle the accounting, but they will assist you, right? Yes, that doctor or dentist is no longer just a professional, they are now self-employed. Yet, there are some doctors or dentists who run dental practices, and there is a doctor and a dentist who runs a dental practice. It's pretty clear this is not a skills issue. This is a structure issue. So the second level is where you become self-employed. The third level is where you become a business owner. There are a few things that differentiate these, and I'm really skipping through it. We do a 2-hour masterclass on just this material. But there are 3 things that differentiate this. The most important thing about business owners is this. They spend time writing down the rules and the code for their business. Not implementing it, writing it down. So the question for us in this room is, how many of us here have spent time writing down the rules and the code for your business? Emmanuel, who's been helping me. Emmanuel, stand up, let them see you. Lovely young lad, sir. He's really great. Emmanuel, who's been helping me with my protocol when I arrived. Emmanuel, I called you last night when I got off the plane and I said to you, they're taking me through the bus, right? Had we spoken before that? So where did I get Emmanuel's number from? We have a system internally in the firm that when we briefed the client would have sent us some information. Emmanuel's number was on that system. My head of protocol got his number. And my head of protocol is off preparing for me to be where I'm going when I leave here. So he said, this is the young man you're going to deal with. I said, I can go to Nigeria. I know Pastor Poju is my brother. We're good. So I land, and Emmanuel and I started speaking immediately. I come off, this is a true story, I come off the bus, as I go into the airport, Emmanuel had another young man who came to meet me. I forget his name now. I think his name was Moses or something like this. Another young man who came to meet me says, "Sir, I'm so-and-so from Covenant Nation. I'm going to take you through the whole process." Which means someone here at Covenant Nation knows that when you're receiving VIP guests, You want them to go through the airport experience at Mutala. Love the airport, but we need to talk about that experience. But somebody here knows well enough to make sure that your clients go through that experience seamlessly. It doesn't happen by osmosis. Somebody wrote it down. Do you get it? If you don't get it, forget about it. Thank you, Emmanuel. You can sit. A level above that is where you become an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur doesn't just write the rules, they implement the rules and they scale the rules. Follow me here because what I'm about to say next really matters. When you start implementing the rules, a few things go wrong. This is the difference between real life and your Excel spreadsheet. The Excel spreadsheet said, by month 6, you should be turning a profit. Do you know why it said that? Because you put in a set of assumptions that allowed you to think you can dictate reality on Excel. But you can't. So when you start implementing your rules, the real world is going to slap you back. You implement rules about etiquette and how your people are supposed to receive clients, and then suddenly you realize you have employed people who don't have a culture of hospitality, which means you either fire them or train them. That's reality slapping you back. You implement rules about how customers are supposed to pay you 15 days before you do the work, and then suddenly you realize your biggest customer wants to pay you 30 days after the work is done. That's reality slapping you back. So what happens when you start scaling these rules is entrepreneurs fall into this thing, it's 2 words, write it down, write it down. Implementation fatigue. It's when you do and you test and you try and you fail. Then you do and you test and you try and you succeed. Then you go, whew, oh, that worked. And the minute you think it's worked, the next time you try it, it fails again. Have you ever had somebody in your business do something they know not to do even though you've told them not to do it? That's implementation fatigue. Here's what happens. And anybody in this room who's been in a relationship with the same person for longer than 10 years knows what I'm about to say is true. The same person is important. There comes a point when you fall out of love and into life. At the beginning of your business, you're in love with it. It's a great idea. It's the first customer, second customer, third customer. And as they're experiencing it, you're loving it. Then comes a time when you're just tired. You're tired of waking up early. You're tired of not making payroll. You're tired of missed installments. You're tired and you're tired and you're tired. That's when you're no longer in love. You're now in life. And that is the valley where scale goes to die. Because at that point, you have one of two options. And I myself have been at that point several times, so I know what I'm about to say is true. The first option is stop and go back. I'm going to stop and go back to the small business I used to run when I used to deal with the customers and I delivered the work to the customers and I loved my business. 90% of people stop and go back. But there is a special 10% who push through, who understand that the way to break that isn't to get smaller, is to get so big that that doesn't matter. I can assure you that of every single one of the entrepreneurs who've spoken to you here today, all of us are dealing with some or other problem. That's business. Business equals problem. I have a rule with my team. I don't mind dealing with a problem. I do mind dealing with the same problem twice. I deal with a problem the first time. We write down rules about how we fix this problem. Then I hire somebody to fix the problem because my time is too expensive to fix problems. Nobody pays me to fix problems. They pay me to find opportunities and to monetize them. That's why I hired you. You are the problem fixer. I am the problem identifier. It's very nice for me. I find it, you fix it. That's business. There's an old expression, the poop flows downhill. That's where it comes from. That's why the best place to learn about business is to learn business from somebody who's built a business. Because they will give you all of the problems they don't want to deal with. And by the time you start running a business, you know exactly how to deal with those problems. I'm cognizant of time. And then that last note is how to be a founder. How to be a founder. What do founders do different to everybody else? It's quite simple. Founders plant a vision, man. And then they build people around them who can go and make that vision true. That's what founders do. And I don't want to preach here, but that's the lesson we learned from our Lord and Savior. The man was only here for 3 years, and he built the world's fastest growing, largest company we have ever seen. And he did it just by training, think about it this way. He did it just by training 12 people. That's all he did. He gave them a simple idea and a simple message. And he spent 3 years with them, and he trained them. And for those of you here who are believers, you also know that each time before he would spend time training his people, he would go and fix himself first. And so the question for those of you entrepreneurs in the room is, when is your quiet time? Get off the phone, get off the social media, turn it off. Go and spend some time away, shut it off, go and spend a week away. How are you going to hear what the universe has for you, what God has planned for you when you're still streaming in and you're on the latest thing on the social media feed? I have a theory. Leadership is a mirror. Your ability to lead people is a consequence of your ability to lead yourself. And until you lead you, you have no business trying to lead other people. Until you deal with your demons, you have no business trying to mentor other people. Start with you. And so my hope for every single person in this room is that you would spend time being intentional about being a founder and spend time being intentional about scaling businesses. I'm going to end with this. I come with tools, so here is a tool for you guys. We built a DNA tool. I built it actually for the team here that you can take as an entrepreneur. And what this tool does is it allows you to understand your own space, your own strengths, but also your own areas of development. The reason the tool is important is so that when you leave here from this conference, you have a diagnostic report that tells you what are you good at and what are you not good at. This tool focuses on 6 key areas of entrepreneurial development. That if you can learn which of these 6 key areas you are strong at and which of these 6 key areas you are weak at, it'll also give you a diagnostic of things you need to go and do so that you can improve yourself. So, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with all of you. I want to thank you so much for the invitation to come and spend some time with you. And I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to share the stage with some of the incredible speakers that I saw before I got up here. I was excited for the invitation. Then I saw who was speaking. I was like, yeah, I've made it. Mama, I've made it. Can I share one last thing before I go? Can I? I was thinking long and hard about if I should address this before I go. But I think as a leader in society, it's important that I take this platform, literally, this platform to address these issues. You guys are aware of the issues that are taking place in South Africa at the moment, I'm sure. You're also aware of the tone, the language, and the texture of these issues. I want to make 3 absolute statements. The first is this. Contrary to what you're seeing on the media, South Africans are not xenophobic. Contrary to what you're seeing in the media. Now, that statement sounds a blasty statement, especially because of some of the things you would have seen online. I'm not saying that there are no xenophobic people in South Africa. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply saying the entire nation is xenophobic would be missing the point. There are 65 million people in South Africa. We have 11 official languages. We're one of the most diverse societies in the world, and even though that is the case, we get along with most people. If you go and look at the largest companies in South Africa and the CEOs or boards of those companies, you will find that the CEOs or boards or C-suite executives are many people from the rest of Africa. So I think I felt that it was important for me to say that. The second point I want to make is this. I think that there is an agenda to turn us against each other. And I think we feed that agenda when we feed the noise and the fire. And so what I'd like to think we can do is to reach across the divide, have actual conversations, understand what's happening, as they say in Kenya, kwa ground, on the ground, so we can find each other. And then the third point I want to make is this. I was in Ghana last week. I went to the Kwame Nkrumah Museum. While I was in the Kwame Nkrumah Museum, I learned that Kwame Nkrumah, the man who is arguably the liberator of Africa, the first liberated nation in the continent of Africa was Ghana, 1957. And the man who liberated that nation was removed from power through a coup by his own people. Then I started reading about the history of your own nations, and I learned that you've had several of your own coups. And then I looked at what happened in the Congo, and I realized that Patrice Lumumba was removed by his own people. And I say all of that just to make this simple point. We as a people have to do better, man. Us as a people, dragging each other as a people, fighting each other as a people, swearing at each other as a people, calling each other names as a people, it has to stop at some point. And I genuinely hope that we can use the church as a platform to bring Africans together. Because we're different until we start worshiping under the same Christ. And so my hope for every single person in this room, my hope for every single one of you, is that you'd find the courage to be the light. Just as you and I were instructed to be. Go out to the world and be a light to the world. Sure, speak truth, but speak the honest truth and speak it to the right people. And if we must call each other out, let's do it to each other. Let's avoid the theater of the rest of the world watching us saying, you see these people again, they can't get along. That's why I'm so passionate about the work that my brother Pastor Poju does with the platform. That's why I said to you some years ago, the platform has to be the platform Africa, and you executed on that. And I think it's important that we allow men like Pastor Poju to do the work that they do, so that the rest of us can meet in spaces like this and exchange ideas, the likes of which we have done. What I'm going to do, sir, every single thing that I prepared here was just for this conference. I'm going to share the entire deck with your team. You may have it, and you may share it with everybody here, however you do through your distribution channels. Thank you so much, everybody, for the opportunity to be here. I'm truly and honestly humbled. Thank you.